Welcome back everyone to a rapid response video, something I have not done in maybe the past 2 months or so. I just have to make a quick shout out to every single person who posted a comment on this post. I wasn't expecting this many comments. It's definitely going to be hard to choose which videos I'm going to be able to make time for. Whether or not I inevitably get to your comment, I appreciate all your support for giving me some ideas and being capable to make content out of the things you guys want to see. So with that being said, this rapid response comment is coming from Starvin Martian. Map out where DC comic cities and locations would exist in the real world. Marvel always had New York City, making it feel more grounded. This is a good and interesting one. I've always found the location of DC cities to be a very interesting topic depending on where certain storylines are going to be taking place and how exactly do the locations of these cities change the world as we know it within fictional terms. I do appreciate the creativity of DC to create new worlds that these characters can exist in within the real world. That way we can retract from always attacking the same 2-3 cities in America at all times. In DC's history, there have been times where a lot of these cities take place in different parts of America. They're not always aligned properly. There have been times where something like Metropolis is centered within around the Kansas area, but then other times where it is centered around Delaware. I am going to give you my opinion on exactly where I believe DC cities should be, and if I was to make my own continuity, this is how my map would look. Starting with Gotham City, which is arguably one of the most popular cities in all of comic book history, I am putting it somewhere between New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Somewhere in between all three of these states, in which it would take about 45 minutes to an hour to get there. Having Gotham between these three states, it would be completely surrounded by a massive lake, in which to get to other mainlands, you would have to cross bridges to get there. I've always imagined Gotham City is a Manhattan-sized city, maybe even a little bit bigger. Gotham City already has very similar attributes to cities like New York, Manhattan, New Jersey, and that is how I would somewhat keep the city, except obviously giving it its Gotham flavor. It would still have that steampunk nature. Very technological, but you would perhaps see people driving very old school cars. Maybe even some buildings would look old school as well. Since I am Canadian, I had to do a little bit of research into states just to back up my points a little bit, and I think fitting Gotham into this particular area, which usually it is situated around New Jersey in the first place, that area does get the most rain of all states during the summer, which really fits Gotham since it always is raining over there. And being around those northern sectors, winters can get pretty bad there, and I always imagined winter being pretty rough in Gotham City. Now, heading into Metropolis with Superman, I know there are a lot of times where they put Superman and Batman very close together, almost like sister cities. So you would have Gotham in New Jersey and Metropolis in Delaware, and I personally am not a big fan of that. I like Batman and Superman being spread out across America. In fact, I like all the heroes being a little spread out from one another, creating that distance. Keeping that Kansas, Missouri farm boy type of nature within Clark, I want to put Metropolis between Kansas and Missouri, like perfectly dead center. And I would do something where the states of Kansas and Missouri actually share Metropolis 50-50. Kansas is also considered to be the center of the United States of America, and I think it makes sense putting Superman situated in a location like that, considering Superman is the center of the the DC universe. A lot of things do revolve around him. He is the one everyone follows and looks up to, so I just think it makes a lot of symbolic sense. Superman is also a huge sports fan. In media history, there's been so many times where you've seen Superman watching football or even baseball, and I mean, currently, right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are kind of building up to their own dynasty at the moment, so I could see Superman being a huge fan of them. Now, for Central City, which belongs to the Flash, I decided to put him near Superman, although on the other side of Kansas. It would be more so Nebraska-Kansas border, probably lying a little more towards Nebraska. My biggest reason for doing this is because I think it is very important to have the Flash somewhere near the middle of the United States, mainly for distance purposes. Look, I know the Flash can get anywhere he wants around the world within seconds. So I know realistically it doesn't really matter where you place him, but for my own head canon, even if it takes 5 or 10 more seconds than usual, I would like to put the Flash in an area where it takes him a little bit longer to get to other states around America or even other parts of the world, instead of being conjoined in the more smaller, closer setted states where he could get to maybe Batman super quick or whoever else is in the area. Those middle states have a lot of land to cover, and I just like to imagine that maybe in a short notice, it's going to take him just a little bit of extra time to maybe get from Nebraska, stretching over the larger states into other cities where superheroes might need help. Bludhaven, protected by Nightwing, I would place this city in Connecticut, and my main reason for putting it over here is because there is actually a town in Connecticut called New Haven. So a couple things you could do here. You could make it so that Bludhaven is beside New Haven, or maybe Bludhaven has become New Haven, or maybe both these towns are split in half. Bludhaven being the more dangerous side of the city, and New Haven being the safer side of the city. Putting him in Connecticut, yes, he is in a different state, but when you locate him to Batman, he is in a situation where he is still close enough to Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, where he could get back to Gotham in a short amount of time, especially with the vehicles they own. But he also leaves to Connecticut because it is a new adventure for him, and it is a city that he sees a lot of Gotham in, and it's something he needs to try and fix. Next up is Star City with Green Arrow, and a lot of times they explain this city to take place somewhere along California. I am going to place it in South California around Los Angeles. I just like to think that Star City, California, is filled with celebrities. Los Angeles is one of the most popular areas for that type of star power. Why not have a city called Star City very close to Hollywood? Especially someone like Oliver Queen, who is very popular amongst his people. I could see him being a character who has had a lot of adventures, especially in his younger life before becoming Green Arrow, where he did spend a lot of time in Star City and Los Angeles. And then moving over to another city that is going to be very close by, which I'm also locating in South California, but I'm going to put it more on the San Diego side of things. I don't genuinely have a reason exactly on why Coast City would be around San Diego or literally pinpointed to San Diego, but whenever I think of that city, for some reason, I think Coast City. So in this situation, you would have Los Angeles separating Green Arrow and Green Lantern on other sides. Now we move into Smallville, which is going to be one of the biggest changes I'm about to make here, and some of you might like it, some of you might not. I know Smallville, a lot in history, has been located in Kansas. And it would make a lot of sense that Smallville is more farmland Kansas and Metropolis is one of their bigger cities. However, I do want to have a callback to Superman's Canadian heritage, even though that has been heavily lost over the years. I am putting Smallville around Manitoba or Saskatchewan. Both of those provinces have a massive amount of farmland, and I think it would be really cool if Superman spent his childhood and his teenage years as a Canadian. I know there is a lot of times where Superman has to be depicted as the heart or the face of America, and you could still do that when he moves to Metropolis to become a reporter, in which he starts to embrace an American side, of course. And having his parents living in Smallville, located in Manitoba or Saskatchewan, Superman can fly just as fast as the Flash can run. So getting there won't be difficult at all and won't have too much time bearing. Fawcett City with the Shazam family. Now, I am pretty sure the location I am going to give is completely different from where Fawcett City usually takes place in the comics. I decided to put it in Minnesota, north of Minneapolis. As I briefly stated in this video earlier, I do think it is important to spread out some of these very powerful heroes. That way they don't feel also connected to one another. Then we have Amnesty Bay, which is the main city for Aquaman, where his father's lighthouse is located in Maine. And that is exactly where I would keep this city. I think you could do with Maine or maybe even Massachusetts, an area where a lot of fishing is going on. There's always boats coming and going in ports and coasts. Makes a lot of sense being located in one of these two states, but I'll keep it where it is in Maine. And then last but not least, we have Opal City, which has been described to be one of the safest cities in all of DC Comics, if not the safest area on the entire planet. This city is located in Maryland in the comic books, and I wanted to make a change to this one as well. I feel like Opal City needs to be a staple. It needs to be a location that you know it's safe and you know it has a certain beauty to it. The technology in which the city has been built off of, its infrastructure, its architecture, its location, most of all, needs to look very special, very beautiful. And when you look at it from the outside and within the inside, you need to know that this city is not like the others. You know you're in a good area when you get there. And that's why I'm going to do something very, very different. I'm going to situate Opal City between Alaska and Yukon. I feel like we need some representation from the northern state there and even the province of Canada. There are a lot of areas in between Alaska and the Yukon that are very beautiful when it comes to the mountainous regions and just forestry in general. You could do something with Opal City where it is literally built within mountains or between mountains. It has a beautiful landscape, and you know why this city is so safe amongst the world. So there it is, DC cities and where I would locate them. Some of them roughly stay around the same area that they would be considered to be in today, but some I heavily changed. So you guys let me know in the comments where some of these cities would lie on your map. How similar would it look to what they do in comic books, or how different would they be, whether they be small differences or major differences. Thank you once again to Starvin Martian for the comment. But that is all I have for you in this one, everyone. And as always, I will talk to you all very soon.